Hey, what's going on out there, everybody? It's your boy from Brooklyn, Shannon Ambrosio, just saying what's up. Let's see if we can get this thing working tonight to have this live stream. I think we're okay. I mean, if anybody decides on joining, we will just, we'll work it out as we go along. So let's see how we're doing. I think okay, so far so good. Let's see what's going on. It's a wonderful, wonderful Sunday evening. As you could see, the weather's starting to change. So we got the fall, we got the sweatshirt weather. I'm not ready for sleeves yet, but I think there's a little bit of chill in the air, right? That's how we know the fall is here. We got a little bit of chill in there. Yo, Thomas is with us already. What's up, Thomas? The mad dog is in the house, folks. That's what's up right there. So like I said, it's starting to get a little chillier at night. All right. So it's starting to get a little cold at night. So that's why I threw on the sweatshirt right here. You heard? But it's not that bad. We're still going to get some warm days, right? Because that's how the fall works, right? We get what they call Indian summers. Listen to me. We all know that it just gets warm. September and even sometimes into October, we have warm days. And that's just how it goes, folks. But here on this wonderful Sunday evening, it's another Everything and Nothing podcast with your boy, Shannon Ambrosio. Just saying, my goodness, the end of the year is creeping up on us really fast. Like real fast, right? So I hope everybody's been watching what's going on here with our presidential candidates, right? Or the presidential election that's coming up in 2024. Now I know we still got a year, we're still a year off, right? But now is when all the all the campaigning starts, all the different runners that are going to be for the presidential election, which side they're on, right, wrong, or indifferent. You know how I all feel about that. I don't care what party you're going to, whatever party that they're part of is not going to be a party at the end. Believe me when I tell you. It's all going to be some kind of circus, and I know that's what we like to call it, right? So the presidential race becomes like a three-ring circus at some point. Because for sure, we all know that the clowns are going to come out when we're talking about presidential candidates. Every clown that didn't get into the big leagues in Ringling Brothers is going to be running for some kind of office of some kind. And the biggest clown of all is the presidential election. So that we all know is going to be a big three-ring circus. But I think the idea of the election this time around is going to be extremely different than I think in my lifetime for what I've seen for elections. Because what's happening lately is that either side that you maybe want to be affiliated with is trying to get the other person like totally eliminated from the election some way, somehow. And I don't know why. So in other words, the fear of losing, I guess, is the biggest fear that they have, right? Losing the election, right? Losing the highest governing position in our government is the president. So I think the idea is that they're trying to be so deceitful and have such a demise for their opponent, whichever side you're on. I don't care what side of that fence you want to be on, right? Because now we only have two parties that can run. You can run as an independent, but basically we have two parties at this point, right? We have the Democrats or the Republicans, or if you're a Republican, it's the Republicans and the Democrats, whichever one you want to pronounce first. That's totally up to you. But I still think my humbled opinion is that no matter which side that's going to have a candidate in this presidential election, in some way, shape, or form, is going to try and put the opponent away for good at this point in our election process. So our election process has changed so much from the beginning, right? Because the idea was presidential candidates, bing, right away, you have to come in person, you have to you sign a ballot or check a ballot, and it goes into a ballot box, and then that's the end of it. Now there's all different types of ballot entries of some kind, right? So we have machines that are counting everything now, and we have mail-in ballots, and soon, believe it or not, when I tell you they're going to have your ballots are going to be on your smartphone devices, and you're not even going to have to, you're going to just walk by the where the election booths are and just wave your phone over, and then that's the end of it. And then your vote and whoever else they pirate your phone with will have a vote as well. So my humbled opinion is that the election process is becoming so diluted that the candidates don't really have to even try and gain our votes anymore. They're basically just, slandering the other candidates' names and what they're about and all kinds of other things, and they're just getting to convince us that one is worse off than the other. Instead of them campaigning to us for our vote, to have them govern over we the people. We the people control the votes. Well, we thought we did, right? And then they made the Electoral College. Once they made the Electoral College, at that point, the popular vote did not vote in the president anymore. And I don't know who decided that, but I don't know. I know it wasn't we the people who decided this. And I think at this point, when it comes to elections, and especially the presidential election, because there's a lot of hypertrophy around it at this point in the game, right? Because there's candidates popping up as independents, candidates popping up on the Democrat Party, candidates popping up on the Republican Party, and it seems to me that these two sides, these Democrats and these Republicans, don't really like, or in their own party, don't like the candidates that are putting themselves under those two parties, right? So there are Republicans that will be that are in the presidential race now that other Republicans don't seem to really like, and vice versa. There are Democrats, Robert Kennedy. The whole thing is that he's a Democrat, and he's trying to run for presidential office as well, and the Democrats are trying to badmouth him. So it's kind of like, I think at this point, when you're looking for your presidential candidates, and somebody I think we the people should be standing behind, is somebody that seems to have the commonality amongst the people in order for we the people to vote somebody like that in. And then we have to demand the idea that the populace or the popular votes are the one that are going to be putting a new president into office, rather than just these parties swinging votes and states any which way they can. And lately I've been noticing a lot more of the big journalists and the big time talkers out there who are getting a lot of attention, right? So when we talk about on a little bit more on the conservative side, but I mean, Tucker Carlson doesn't put himself in that realm as Republican or Democrat. He leans closer to a conservative ideal, but I don't know necessarily if he believes all of it, right? But this Rachel Maddow, right? This woman has it out, and I don't even know if she identifies as a woman. I'm not even sure anymore how this works. But I can tell you is that whatever it is that she constitutes for saying certain things that she does, it leans so much more with this idea of fascism and totalitarianism, which means if you can find a way to defile your opponent, then that's what you should do. And in actuality, what the journalists and what the people who are bringing us news, whether it be mainstream or even this now, right? Because we all know a lot of our information comes straight from here. We're getting it from other people just like us, just like me. It's your boy from Brooklyn. Like I said, what do I know? I'm just the guy from Brooklyn. What do I know, right? But I know enough to pay attention to the things that will affect will affect the future, but not just the future of whatever it is I have left in my life, right? Because I'm past that 50 marker right now. I'm talking about younger generations and younger adults that are just starting to understand how important political figures are, not just for them personally, but as a collective, as the united of the states here in this country. And I think the realization is starting to come. It's starting to come faster and more out front for us. I think the problem is that most people are getting turned off by the idea of what's going on. So I don't think they're paying attention enough to understand that their voices, anybody's voice, it really, really counts. And the idea of what we believe in and what our ideals are, not just our personal ideals and how we all want to be successful and happy and all those things, but the idea of the collective for we the people to understand that there should be no dividing lines between any of us when it comes to us being here as we the people. And I really hope that we're getting more familiar with what is actually happening instead of just what they're telling us, right? So just what's coming at you, basically at this point from the internet and everything and social media, is that it's coming at you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, for us 365, the whole thing. No matter which calendar, no matter which moon is rising or sun is setting, wherever you are, I think the idea of the information and us gathering it much more succinctly now is possible. So we need to be opening our ears and listening, and also opening our eyes to what's actually happening in front of us, and stop kind of dismissing a lot of the things that are going on for us here just in the United States, but around the world, globally, what's happening, right? The control of people is really what's consuming governments all around this planet, is the idea of the control over the citizens so that they can manipulate. And we're trying, listen to me, we're trying to get away with this idea that it doesn't pertain to us because it doesn't affect my direct life. And it does. It does affect everything, not just us individually, but us collectively. And that's what makes the most sense. That's the reason we had a revolution here in this country. We had a revolution here in this country because we didn't want somebody who wasn't here or some type of governing factor telling us what to do when it didn't help and support us, in support of we the people, right? So in other words, we're going out and fighting all the battles and trying to right injustices of all kinds. But if the government just keeps making up new codes and new laws and new ways and new this and new that, and they don't go back and referendum to the original idea of the Constitution here in this country or in any country. I don't know how the constitutions are written in other countries, but I'm sure, I'm sure in other countries they follow the Constitution. Who or whomever has written this Constitution, they follow it. Maybe that's the reason why those governments are the way they are. Here, we seem to have all these new made-up amendments and rules and codes and laws and exceptions, and it seems to be too much after a while. It's like if you get a contract, and we all know this, right? I talk about this all the time, about the fact that you get your cell phone contracts, you get your cable vision, whatever you're using, your internet connections, and we get contracts. They're like 6-7 pages long, and then at the bottom, we just hit the agree check mark, and then we move on. And we don't realize what we've done. We don't realize that here we are signing away everything, right? So we're letting the governments and everybody else, big corp, give us these contracts to sign, and we agree to everything at this point so that they're not liable for anything. So they're basically letting us know that we are foolish enough not to read, not to pay attention, and not to do our due diligence to make sure that they're doing the things they're supposed to be doing, right? Because at the end, they still just stealing money from us, and we're all just okay with it. So until we stop that, this is the way it's going to be. They're always going to have, the governments will always have the control. But this is something we have to get a hold of. And we have to listen. We have to listen to anybody who's speaking out loud about what's going on. here and abroad. And abroad, you know abroad, I know abroad. That's the song right there. So, listen to me. It's not all doom and gloom. Anything, I always say this to people, right? Because I build and fix just about anything. Anything can be built and anything can be fixed. Anything. So, we need to start thinking about that. We need to start thinking about building new things, right? That JB started that whole thing, the Brandon guy. He was like, build back better. He wasn't building nothing. He wasn't fixing nothing. This guy was off somewhere else, doing something else, thinking about something else. And it wasn't we the people, I can tell you that much right now. But we're going to get into this, right? So do yourself a favor and make sure that you are subscribed to my channel so that this way you can watch this content that I have. It may be informative or it just may be totally hilarious to you. But by all means, make sure you're subscribed, okay? And don't forget to ring that bell, because when you ring that bell, you'll get notified when something goes up on my channel right here. All right, so just do that right away, right there. Give it a thumbs up if you enjoy the content right there. All right, don't get ridiculous. I know you're cheering in place right now. All right, and share this out with anybody who might find this interesting, or totally obnoxious at some point. Doesn't matter. And you got to leave your questions and comments down there below, so that this way we can open up the dialogue about what's going on. What interests you? What doesn't interest you? Where do you see this whole election going? I mean, I'd like to have some ideas as to what everybody thinks out there about what they think is going to happen for this upcoming election in 2024. You can find my social media links down there in the description below, right there. And if you want, you can listen to the audio podcast in these places right there. Also, the links down below, right? You heard? And those are the other two channels I have. Go over there, do some cooking, I do some building and fixing. You'll be amused. I can tell you that much. It's a good time had by everyone. Mostly by me, because I'm the one creating it. But it's fun. It's fun for all ages. That's the truth right there. Okay. All right. So I'd like to get into some of these things that are being said out loud about our candidates, the idea of the presidential candidates, because in the end, we all know there's probably going to be two people. We hope. We don't know yet, right? Because we think it's going to be Mr. Trump and we think it's going to be Mr. Biden. I don't know how either one of them I'm not really sure either one of them is the better of the two. I'm not really sure. I can tell you right now, things are in a total mess, but hey, listen to me. You guys have to leave some questions and comments down there below what you think about that. But that's my opinion on that, is that we seem to have a disconnect for a lot of things at this point, and I don't know why. But let's listen. Let's listen to what Tucker has to say about this whole thing. Oh, that's not him. Hold on a second. Let's listen to what Tuck's got to say about that.
The problem with criminalizing politics is the people who do it imagine or know that it will be done to them. So once you start indicting your political opponents, you know that you have to win or else they're going to indict you if they win, right?
Right.
And so they can't lose. They will do anything to win. So how do they do that? They're not going to do COVID again. I know everyone on the right's afraid they're going to do COVID and mask mandate. They're not going to do that. They can't do that. If they've already been exposed, that won't work. There's going to be, what are they going to do? They're going to go to war with Russia. That's what they're going to do. There will be a hot war between the United States and Russia in the next year. And
really?
Yes, of course. They want it anyway. I don't think we'll win it, but that's a separate analysis. But I think it's a political matter. They need to declare war footing in order to assume war powers in order to win. I believe that. And I think the evidence suggests that's true.
So, we all know there seems to be this thing happening over in the Ukraine, between the Ukraine, Russia, and us and some NATO allies. The idea is something happened there with the sanctions that were going on at one point, and at some point, I guess either Putin or over here on our side, the Mr. Biden over there decided that it was okay for them guys to go into that country and invade because of something that happened some years ago, starting in 2014, and then now we seem to be sending all military weapons. We seem to be sending scouts. We seem to be sending our military personnel to go over to the Ukraine to train these people how to use these things. So in actuality, if we're really talking about certain things, right? And I know we all like to think that this doesn't affect us directly, but believe me when I tell you it does, because the idea is whether we want to say we're in an actual war with Russia at this point, we kind of are. If we're just looking for the sugar-coated version, then we kind of are, because our military's there. That's the end. So if you have, so in other words, if I go somewhere, I'm an ex-fighter, boxer, right? So if I go to the ring somewhere and I step in the ring and then somebody steps in the ring behind me to help me, they're still there with me. So in other words, it's 2 against 1, if you understand what I'm saying. So the idea is that whether they gave me the stick or whatever else weapon I'm using, it still makes, right? We know we have laws here in this country for that, right? You're an accomplice. So do we not think that this idea of what we're doing over there makes us an accomplice to what's happening? All of it, not just the fact that we're supposedly in the beginning helping the Ukraine because we were helping them fight for democracy. Well, it's funny that this episode is about the elections, and what I think about the presidential elections is the idea is that we went over there to save the Ukraine because of democracy. Okay, so the Ukraine, they just decided that they're not having an election because it's wartime. Very much like what Tucker is saying, that the idea is that during the wartime, if they're going to declare it, they will do it then. It's the only way. So if you want to keep your opponents out of the race and they can't run against you at any point, you're going to start making some hot wars here so that we're the first person responding. So we have to be liable at some point. And once that happens, if it does, that's it. No election. Let's listen to that again. No election. So you're not going to have any choices anymore. And I think it's ironic is that when somebody's in office, when a president is in office and he has his staff and he has his governing constituents, why are they not just concentrating on the idea of governing the people here in this country? Why isn't that their main goal? Why isn't their main goal just making sure that the citizens and the people, we the people here in this country, are taken care of first and foremost? And then, like they say on the plane, if in case an emergency, if this plane starts to go down and the masks are dropped from the front down in front of you, please put on your mask first and breathe deeply before you decide to help somebody else. I mean, come on, folks. If we're giving our own people these kind of choices where we're telling them, you can't help anybody else if you didn't help yourself first. If we're not abiding by the same mission that we set out for others, for ourselves, there's going to be a problem somewhere. I know we don't think that that's the truth, but it is. So in other words, if you don't, if you don't, like they say, if you don't clean up your own house, how are you going to go to somebody else's house and tell them that that it needs to be cleaned up? It's not going to work. It just won't. So
the problem with criminalizing politics is the people who do it imagine or know that it will be done to them.
Yeah.
So once you start indicting your political opponents, you know that you have to win or else they're going to indict you if they win.
You're finished.
Right?
Right.
And so they can't lose. They will do anything to win. So how do they do that? they're not going to do
I know
COVID
we
again.
heard this
Everyone on
again,
the right's
but
afraid they're going to do COVID and
we heard this,
they're
but
not going to do
you
that.
have
They
to
can't do
listen.
that. If they've already been exposed, that won't work. There's going to be no. What are they going to do? They're going to go to war with Russia. Is what they're going to do. There will be a hot war between the United States and Russia in the next year. And
Really?
Yes, of course. They want it anyway. I don't think we'll win it, but that's a separate analysis. But I think it's a political matter. They need to declare war footing in order to assume war powers in order to win. I believe that. And I think the evidence suggests that's true.
The election means one of two things, if this is the way he's going to approach it. Either he loses the election and he goes to prison, or he wins the election, he doesn't go to prison, and is that for life?
You tell me. Is that for life? So in other words, what she's trying to state here is the fact that if Trump doesn't go to jail and isn't thrown in prison, then he's going to campaign against Joe Biden. And if he wins, then that means that side won't be in office anymore. So I know they're trying to accuse somebody of doing something while they're actually doing the thing they're accusing them of. It's too strange. It's almost like a bad episode of The Twilight Zone, right? Where they say, well, if we don't do this, this will happen. And I said, well, who can tell the future? Nobody. Nobody can tell the future. But you can put yourself in a good direction the way you want your future to go if you're the one controlling it all. So if you're controlling it all, who's going to stop you from doing it?
That he gets to be president? Will we keep having more elections or no? If every election is a new opportunity for him to go to prison, do you think he allows us to have new elections? I mean, if those are the stakes, if winning the election is his plan to stay out of prison, what happens in that election if and when he does not win it? Does that kind of an election end with a graceful concession to a fair and square re-elected President Biden? I mean, if Trump and his supporters see the stakes as losing and going to prison or winning and being president, and probably president for life, how should we expect that he and the Republican Party and Republican officials in swing states are going to handle the conduct of that election that Trump may very well lose?
That he may lose. He may lose. So, in other words, they're saying, hey, listen, you know, he's going to lose anyway, so why even let him run? Do you hear the sound of audacity in people's voices when they say things like that? It doesn't make a difference to me who it is, Donald Trump or Elmer J. Fudd. It doesn't make a difference. The idea is that here in this country, we have a free and fair election, and we have an elective process. So in other words, you have to be elected by we the people. That was the idea. The idea was that we the people will elect you to make sure that these things that we need are taken care of by people who are governing and looking out for our best interest. But here's somebody else's thought on that.
Very interesting. What do you mean, very interesting? It was stupid. Yes, it was stupid.
So if you're worried about our politics getting like even more vicious than it already is, and people being
right. So that's the idea. The idea is the fact that the elections aren't there anymore to show the people how much the people who are in governing positions, how much they have our interest in mind. So they're no longer showing us this. They're basically coming out and saying, hey, listen, this guy, we're going to put them away. So don't you worry. We'll be the only ones in charge. So you'll only listen to what we have to say. To me, that's very, very strange. Here's the first factor in that, is that we're not supposed to be listening to what the government tells us. They are supposed to be listening to what we tell them. We the people. We the people are the ones who are supposed to be putting in action everything that we want to see happen, not the opposite way. It's been the opposite way for too many years now, way too many years. In other words, they are basically treating everybody like imbeciles, and they're telling everybody, do exactly what we tell you to do when we tell you to do it, or there will be repercussions. Repercussions? I don't understand where this comes from. The ideas of codes and laws and all these things are unnecessary. They wrote a constitution. They wrote it. They wrote a constitution. And they said all of these things here are for everybody. Everybody. Doesn't matter who it is. For everybody. And the quicker we realize this, the quicker we realize is that that is there for us and not them. Not the governing people. The governing people in different countries. This is where I start to get agitated. You know how that works, right? So the idea is that they're not supposed to be telling us anything. They're supposed to be asking us everything. Everything. We're supposed to vote on everything. Then they're supposed to ask us everything. Hey, do you think this is a good idea? Like going to war with other countries? That isn't our business? No, it's not. It puts a strain on us, we the people. We need to start talking up, folks. Everybody needs to start talking up.
Hurt in our politics, which is entirely possible. You should be worried about the prospect of an open war. We're already at war with Russia, of course. We're funding their enemies. So we're fighting Russia. But I mean, an open battle with Russia where we say we're at war with Russia. I think that could easily happen. I think we could Tonkin Gulf our way into it, where all of a sudden missiles land in Poland. The Russians did it. Our NATO ally has been attacked. We're going to war. I could see that happening very easily.
Yeah, I don't know about everybody else out there, but I could see it happening easily at this point as well. If you're doing your homework and you're watching other media and getting news in other places besides just mainstream, you will know that Ukraine is not doing well at all, despite what you may be hearing from anyone. They're not doing well at all. So the idea is that they're going to try and set up some kind of coup. Such a great word. They're going to set up some kind of coup where it puts Russia in a predicament that their response is going to be so aggressive that I think at that point there will be no other reason why war wouldn't be declared. When we all know that we, the people, should be talking about this and the understanding that we shouldn't be allowing any wars anywhere. That's the reason. The reason is that the war just feeds this governing body for whatever it is that their agenda is. It's not in the interest of we the people. It's only in the interest of Big Corp and the government, because everybody's got their hands in the pot right there. They all got this crazy Ponzi scheme working. And the biggest Ponzi scheme they got us believing is the fact that we get to elect a president. We don't. We don't get to elect a president. We used to. Too many years to even count. And then the other part of it is that these people in governing positions are basically, they're on the take. They're all just stealing money from somebody from somewhere, right? Taxes, tickets, fines, motor vehicle, insurances. It's a disgraceful way that they have schemed their way into every citizen's pockets in order to fund whatever it is their interests are at the time, right? Go green, global warming, whatever it is you want to call it, right? Stock market crashes, real estate up, real estate down, sideways. They got everybody running around in circles like a dog chasing its tail. And we all at some point have to stop and realize that we don't want to bite ourselves in the ass. We just don't. We should all think about these things seriously at this point. I'll tell you what, I don't care what anybody says at this point. You think that the 2024 presidential election and you leave your comments down there below. You believe yourself that in the 2024 presidential election that it's going to be fair and just at this point. Come on, we all know it's nonsense. Machines don't work. It didn't count. It didn't tally the votes. There's one person they catch, single-handedly dumping, in the mailbox 50 ballots, 100 ballots, 200 ballots, right? In the mailboxes. And they're like, whoa, they have one guy who brings all the ballots. I go, no, we all know that's not possible. We all know that whatever ballots this person was dumping in the mailboxes isn't theirs. We all know that. That's illegal. That's called fraud. We know this, right? It's fraud. But here we go again. If you control the government and you're in the governing body and you're making those decisions for everybody, we the people, me included, they're making the decisions for me and everybody else out there, is that they get to do what they want. So if they want to make different things to work in their advantage, they will. And I don't care which side you want to be on for it. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. Election fraud has been around since the adoption of elections. That's the idea. The idea is that you have to they're figuring out, these two parties are figuring out ways to be deceitful. But the problem is they're not harming each other. Right? So that's the difference. And I'd like to see that happen. But that would be my best thing, right? It used to be the presidents of the United States were all war heroes, right? Guys that were on the battlefield. So my thing is, you want to be for president and you want to run for president, they should have to have a boxing match at some point. They should have to, listen to me, if they can't defend themselves, they shouldn't be able to defend the whole nation. That's my opinion, right? So I don't even know why nobody really correlates those things. That's just common sense. If you have somebody that ain't going to be for your side, and they can't do the right thing when the time comes to do the right thing, then what makes you think they're going to want to have an election, that they're going to want to be voted in by people? By we the people. They're not going to. So they create all these different things in order to throw speed bumps at everybody, right? So if we declare war at some point, right? And we don't even have to be, like, in other words, if there's a war declared, how does that work? Like, are they going to start bombing us? Are we going to start bombing them? Do we just stay in the Ukraine and fight them from that side? Does it? I don't think we don't have a clear and concise understanding of how this is going to go forward. I think at this point, I think we're all just hoping that this so-called Mr. President's going to be over there doing the right thing, and I don't think that's possible. I don't think he's going to do the right thing. I don't think he understands what the right thing is anymore at this point. I don't know if either one of them do. That's the problem I have. The problem I have is that I don't think either one of these opponents, the two top leading opponents, I guess at this point, is that I don't think either one of them have the interest of the people anymore. The only thing they're trying to do is trying to set demise in motion for the opponent. They're not speaking to the people anymore. It used to be, if you wanted to run for office of any kind, anywhere, whether it was on the state level, on the nation level, whichever it was, you had to go out amongst the people and speak to them and let them know that you're there for them, not the other way around. In other words, all these people who are running all over the place, doing all these crazy, ridiculous things to bring demise to their opponent, instead of spending their energies on basically giving us an assurance here, we the people, that they're here for us, to make sure that they are trying to help us and themselves in the pursuit of happiness. It's the first thing in the Constitution. It's the first thing. Freedom is the first thing. It's the only thing that they should be letting us as Americans, or as any other governing body in any other country, is that the people, the interest of the people and their happiness is the first agenda, the first thing. Anything after that, it's just, you just add mayo to the sandwich, if you understand what I mean, right? So if you ain't letting the meat and cheese do what it's supposed to do, what kind of sandwich you put? You getting a wish sandwich for everybody. You giving them bread and making them wish they had something in between it to make it tastier. And it doesn't seem to go that way. It seems that it only works in the favor of the government. They seem to be getting all of the rewards from all of us people. There's a vicious cycle that's happening. I hope we are all starting to become more and more aware of it. And I'm very curious about what anybody thinks out there about this election. And listen to me. Feel free in the comments below to let everybody else know who are you voting for. Who do you think? Listen to me. Votes are supposed to be anonymous, right? That's the truth right there. But just for the shits and the giggles, right? On both sides of the fence right there. Yeah. Which one of them do you like? If I had the choice for putting somebody in office, I don't think it wouldn't be a politician. That's my answer. My answer is it wouldn't be a politician. I don't think politicians have a really good grasp on what the majority of the people are feeling, doing, wanting, needing. They're not, I hate to say it, they're not us. They're not us. They aren't. I don't care which party or opponent you want to believe in. They're not amongst the people. Period. That's the end. How would they know? How would they know? How would they know what we the people need? How would they know what we the people want? How do they know? They don't. They don't listen. They don't understand. They're not amongst us. Candidates have to have a certain responsibility of being, all right, we know this is how it goes. We either for the people, right? We the people. It's not the other way around. We have to get that idea out of our heads. We have to start thinking differently. We have to start thinking that we come first and then the government comes afterwards. That has to be the way. That has to be the future. I think the future will be much brighter once we realize that the only control they have is the control we give them. So I say this a lot, right? Everybody has to stop. Just stop. Just stop doing whatever it is that they're telling us to do. I don't care what it is. No more jibber jabbers. No more viruses. No more income tax. Get rid of it. Stop paying it. Tell your boss to pay you, and then whatever's left over, you'll give the government at the end. We all need to think about these things like we need to think about them in a vicious way, in a way where we're not getting confused with the reasons why they're doing it, right? Because they keep coming up with more reasons as to why they're taking more money from us. And it's preposterous to think that those people that we elected are giving us they're giving us a bad way. They're creating a bad way for us to have a bad way. To have, it's a funny thing. We have this weird vision that we think that the government is here to help us for some strange reason, and they're not. They're not here to help anybody. There's an ulterior motive. We know we've heard this before. There's an ulterior motive as to why they do the things they do, for groups or individuals, whatever it may be. There's a reason. There's a bad reason behind it. It's the truth, right? Let's use an example. Here we go. Let's try this again. Here's the example. The example is they let car manufacturers, right? We bailed them sons of bitches out. No, we didn't see no money on that. They didn't give us no friggin' tax breaks, right? They give all the big corps tax breaks. They don't give we the people tax breaks. Meanwhile, we bailed them out. We bailed them out. Folks, let's try this again. We bailed them out. We bailed the banks out. We bailed all the car manufacturers out when they were going belly up. Who's helping us? Who's helping us? Not the government. The government seems to be fishing with our money, right? They seem to be fishing with our money, right? So they keep throwing it at people that are taking it, but they ain't giving nothing back to us. There's a problem here. There's a big problem here, folks. We need to start paying attention. I know I say this all the time, but revolution, the idea of those things, revolting, doesn't always necessarily have to be the idea and the act of destruction. It can be the act of opposition in revolution. So if the government says you have to do these things all the time, you oppose, you deflect, and you say, no, sorry, it ain't happening. You go your way, I go my way. So in other words, if you need more money for these things, military, all this other stuff that they want to take money for all kinds of nonsense, right? Global warming, this, that, and the other thing. We're going to get an air tax soon. Listen to me, mark my words. You pay for electricity, you pay for gas, you pay for water. You'll be paying an air tax very soon. I bet you. With all this global nonsense they got going on here, they're trying to feed everybody all this bullshit about air and the quality and this. They're going to start charging us for it. They charge us for everything else. They're going to start charging us for it. They'll charge you for the air. They'll say, listen, we had to put in some kind of special key. It has 10,000 gigawatts. It was from Back to the Future. It was the same thing that ran the DeLorean. We got to put a flux capacitor in every community. It's going to cost you $8 kajillion. You'll have to pay for it with your life and your children. And then they'll just create an air tax, and then they'll just take more money from you for nothing, for zero, for absolutely nothing. That was the revolution, was taxation without representation. So the more money they take, and they're still not representing we the people, this is a problem. This is a problem, folks. So we just keep letting them take more money, but they're not doing anything for it. They didn't work for it. Nobody in the government works. They just take our money. They take more of it every time they get this little thing in the back of their head about something that they want to make money on. So then they create something. Then they take more money from us. Do you see the cycle? Do we not understand it? Do we not see it? We better start paying attention. Pay attention out there, folks. Stop getting hoodwinked. It's a weird thing that they make us believe. It's like I said, like that buzzing fly that's always around you. You can't get rid of it. You just can't. You have to put it on. You have to give it a couple of, you got to back up once in a while. So once in a while, you got to rewind. You have to stop. Say, listen, they're pushing us too fast, right? Get up every day, send them kids to school, daycare, school, after school programs, send them to soccer, send them to this class, send them to that class. Listen, the kids are so confused, running back and forth. Listen, give them different things. You don't know what you are. Don't worry about it. You can poop in the cat litter box in the back of the class. Don't you worry about it. Put on the cat ears. You're good to go. Everything's good. Copacetic. We're all happy. I'm like, oh my goodness, what's going on here? This is all just smoke and mirrors, folks. They want us all confused and conflicted so that then they can just slide their way in to do whatever it is that they want to do without us really knowing what they're doing, right? They keep telling us, don't worry about it, we'll take care of it. Don't worry about it, we'll take care of it. The only thing you have to worry about is when they say, don't worry. You know how it goes. When somebody says, hey, yo, don't worry about it, we got to take care of it, you already know there's going to be a problem. Listen to me. You don't have to be a genius. You heard? You ain't got to be a genius. You guys got to be smart enough to know you're smarter than the person who told you that. That's all. Don't you worry about it. We'll take care of it. Say, yeah, well, I don't know about that. I saw the way you guys took care of it last time. It didn't really work out too well. Things got kind of messed up, right? And I don't care which side. I don't care who you believe. I don't care if you're the elephant or the donkey. Both of you got, smelly shit. It's just, that's how it works. So here's what I think. I think this coming year, right? I think we're going to get through this last of the year, don't let them push that COVID thing back on anybody. You heard? Just do your own thinking for that one right there. Tell them they can go, they can go somewhere else and try that one. We've been there already. We did that for a couple years. And nobody realized it. A couple of years. Not stay home for 14 days and flatten the curve. What curve was that? How big of a curve are we in? What size curve? Is that like that sign you saw on the road with the triangle sign and the squiggly road was like this and then it never ended? So where's the curve? Which curve got flattened? The only curve that got flattened is all the dead bodies. That's what curve got flattened. So they created this, right? Here's the biggest dilemma I have. And why I feel this election process is going to go to shit this coming election is because do you see what they did the last one? Covering everything up, both sides. And then they created this pandemic, and now they're creating aliens and weather balloons from other countries and different genders and different communities and letters and numbers and pluses and I don't understand why everybody isn't just stopping. Just stop whatever it is, and make sure the only thing that you're really working on is the idea that these elections, there has to be a change. There just does. We see what happens when one group of people are in power for a certain amount of time, what can happen for whichever reason it is, good, bad, or indifferent. But we see ourselves with our eyes. We see it in our pockets. We see it with our friends and our family members. And we see the division. And we see how they make us feel about each other. And we're all still we're just still doing it. And we're not stopping. Right? All the world a stage. All the world a stage. And they're constantly putting us in the leading role. They're like, watch what we get them to do next. It's like, this is they have to be selling this footage somewhere on some crazy internet channel somewhere where the government's got total control. Like, look, watch what we make them do now. Look at these screwballs over here. They'll do anything. We tell them, look. Don't do that right there. Look, you'll listen to me. There's some aliens next door. They live right next door to you. Check them out. They're aliens. They got us believing anything they tell us now. We're so hoodwinked that we keep falling back. We keep falling back into that, right? Every time I try and get out, they just pull me back in. So we have to stop doing that, I think, for a little bit. And we have to start understanding that we all have a lot more control over our lives than we even know. So here's the kicker to this one, right? And I'm going to end it with this. Here's the kicker to this one. We are all sovereign human beings. We're all born this way, free. We're all born. I don't care where on the planet you're born. You're born free. So you're not born to anything. You're just born. And then what happens afterwards, but at some point you have the idea and the ideals in your own head that's like, yo, I ain't doing this shit no more. Whatever they signed up for, I wasn't in on that meeting, and I don't want none of that. I want them to handle it. So if they feel like they got a problem with something or someone somewhere about something, let them go deal with it and leave everybody else alone. We promise to do our own. We promise to take care of our own, and you got to take care of your own too. So if you're over there causing problems with other people, then you deal with it. You take care of it, right? Well, that's just the way it works, right? You don't want somebody else taking care of it, So, and remember, if you want to be the boss, you got to be the boss. You got to be the real boss, if you understand what I'm saying. So you want to play the big guy and make like everybody's supposed to be bowing down and doing everything that you say at one point, then you better go do it. Stop having anybody else do your bidding. If that's your way, if that you're the one who put certain people in those predicaments in those countries, and you're the one who did it, then you go take care of it. You're killing out innocent people all over the place in countries everywhere. It's a horrible thing. You want to mess around with viruses and develop bioweapons and all this stuff and then expect everybody to be okay with these things? And then you want to get reelected? Or you want to be elected? No, come on, folks. Come on. This is hypocrisy here. Everybody's a hypocrite. No matter what side you want to be on, you're a hypocrite. So you come out here, you're talking about peace and we want to make our country great again and this, that, and the other thing. And meanwhile, we're not doing any of it. We just moving papers around. We just doing this. We giving other people papers to do work for us. It's ridiculous. Thousands and thousands and hundreds of thousands of people in working positions to run a government. What the heck are we talking about here? What the heck is going on? All these agencies and, like they say, these three-letter agencies everywhere. What the heck is this all about? Since when? Since when is all of this necessary? Since when does the government, people who get elected, get to appoint people in positions to steal money and to tell other people what to do? For what reason? I just like to see the day. Right? So anybody anywhere, you come to somebody's door on any day of the week, any night, any day, whatever it is, and you knock on somebody's door and you tell them you got to do everything I tell you to do from this point on. I don't think anybody would just agree to that. I don't know anybody who would agree to just that. If you do, please leave it in the comments below. You know somebody who's just good with whatever's told to them and they're okay with that and they just keep moving along, then by all means, put it in the comments below if you think that's a great way to be, right? So whenever somebody decides to show up at your house at any day, any time, whatever your situation may be, married, kids, no kids, house, rent, whatever it is you want to do, and then somebody shows up at your door one day, knocks on the door, and they're like, hold on a second, they're like,
oh, hello.
and they're like, well, we're running the game now. Right? As of right now, I'm running the game.
What's your name, scumbag?
That's I want to know what your name is. I just want to know what your name is. So at the end of the week, when you get your paycheck, right? Look at it. All that money that's taken out, right? All of it. It's more than, you're losing half your money. Who's the person who decided that much? I mean, let's be honest about this. Let's say it let's call these things out for what they are. Who made the rule? I don't know. I don't think anybody does. Everybody keeps saying, oh, it's for the greater the good. I go, who's good? Who's greater? It doesn't work that way. You create things, laws and codes and amendments and whatever else you want to create because it benefits you somehow. It doesn't benefit everybody. It only benefits a very select few people. Better start thinking about it, folks. That election's coming up. You better start thinking about it.
Holy Jesus. What is that?
The election.
What the fuck is that?
The election. It's going to be coming up next year. So,
Oh my God, who the hell cares?
you better start caring. Because the only people, you don't want to be a Karen. You want to start caring. That's how it is. So, think about it, folks. Think about it. Otherwise, we will be the punchline. We the people will be the punchline. And I don't think, that's not cool. It's not cool with me. I'll tell you that much right now. It ain't cool. Listen to me. I have a big problem with authority to begin with. Any authority. I don't care where it comes from. That's it. Something else? How much authority do they need? How much authority do government officials and people appointed in government positions, how much authority do they need? Till there's none left? Until there's nothing that we, the people, get to make a decision on or a choice? Is that when? When it's all gone? Is that when we say we shoulda, coulda, woulda? Is that when? Well, I hope not. I hope not. I hope it happens before this 2024 election. I really do. I really hope we start thinking about things gracefully and gradually in a direction that make us all feel good about who we are. Not just a few people. Everybody. You should feel good about where you are and what you do. You shouldn't feel any other way. Like I said, the first one. Freedom, the pursuit of happiness. I don't know where that has drifted off to, but I hope we start to think about it a lot more. And I'm not just talking about the idea of, everybody should just be, like I was saying before, frolicking around in poppy fields, with no worries or cares at all. I'm just saying it has to be the idea that it has to be the same for everybody. All the rules need to be all the rules for everybody, not just some of us. So you should be able to say what you want, do what you want. And like, here's some advice, right? Is that the least amount that you let them know, the better off you will be. You yourself, just you yourself in general. The less you let the governments know what it is going on, the better off you'll be. I mean, let's just be, honest about that part, right? They're so controlling and so manipulative that they got us to believe that the cameras that they have on the poles giving us tickets now, and the robots they have patrolling the streets in big cities now, that these things are okay, that it's okay to make sure that they are controlling everything we do 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. I don't care which calendar you're on. They have this idea that that's the mission. The mission is to let us think we have some kind of control over our lives, when in actuality they control, I want to say, almost all of it, right? Everybody get up, everybody go do something, then everybody go home, and then everything you make, you spend. Spend it on this, spend it on that, spend it on this, and do it all the time. So we don't ever think that we don't have to stop, right? They have us convinced that we can't stop. If we stop, everything falls in a black hole somewhere. And I go, no, it's not possible. It's not possible. That's why I said the Earth, the planet will still keep revolving, and air will still be in the air, and it will still be free as far as we know until it's not. And that water is on this planet. It's on most of the planet. So how we pay for water anymore at this point is beyond me. All these things that they have us doing now that we didn't normally do. The idea it happens slowly but surely is the definition of how it's working, right? Slowly but surely, all the control will just be had, and then there'll be nothing left. And like they say, you'll own nothing and you'll be happy. I don't know about everybody else, but I won't be happy. That's for sure. And the one thing I have to say about all this is that the elections, and especially the 2024 presidential election coming up, is that they need to have bigger hearts. Right? And here's some information for you. So you know. And I got to pull out the spectacle goggles for this one right here, you heard? But here's some information. Here's the nothing part of the Everything and Nothing podcast, right? Is that, believe it or not, the largest mammal on this planet is the blue whale. And the blue whale has the biggest heart there is. Its heart can weigh up to 1,300 pounds. Its heart. This mammal is so extraordinary that its heartbeat can be heard for 2 miles in the ocean. 2 miles. Can you imagine if we all had big hearts so that you could hear the heartbeat? It would be wonderful. It's a wonderful world that we live in, right? The song and everything is great. It's a wonderful world we live in. And if we're not looking around and exploring the amazement that's on this planet, at any given time, and to know that we don't have, human beings are the least amount in control of anything on this planet. We just are. We think we have control, but we don't, because the planet has existed way before our existence, and it will exist if and when we're gone. It'll still be here. I know we don't think this way, but it's true. All right? That blue whale will live to almost 100 years old. And that sucker never stops moving. It's a great message. It's a great, great message. That animal never stops moving. It is too big. It slows its heart rate down to kind of get sleep, but not really. It has a way to shut off half its brain. It's just an amazing mammal, right? And we're mammals. So this thing has to come up for air, just like we do. And I think when we come up for air this next time, we need to think about who we're sharing it with. It's very, very important. We need to think about those things a lot more than I think we do. We need to stop getting sidetracked and stop being the deer in the headlights, and make sure that we're being humane to each other. You know how it goes, folks. You know how I feel about that. It's very, very important to me. It's very important to me that we all pay attention to what's happening around us and to ourselves, to make sure that we feel good about what's going on, and that we can justify our means to our end, so that we don't feel like, we get one go around here. So we don't feel like in the end that there could have been more. We just have to understand that we have the ability to make more or make less, whichever one you choose, whether it's love or war. We all have the choice to make more of that. We have just as much choice to make peace and love as we do as war and anger. We have the same choices and the same decisions to make when we think about how we are towards those things. Like I said, that's just me. What do I know? I'm just a guy from Brooklyn. But anyway, you know how it goes, folks. Every day is a good day. And if you give a smile, you're going to get a smile. Give a bunch of them smiles out there, folks. We all need them. We all want them. Peace.